On the shark bite, what questions do we want to see? Go over, had questions about. So, number 3. Any others? Anaya. Number 2. We have 2, we have 3. Any others? 5. And 4. Okay. Alright, so let's start with number 2. This is like an evaluating problem, but it's with function notation, the f of x, which means the number we're given here, we're going to put that in for x. So f of negative 4 equals, anytime you see an x, you're going to replace it with negative 4. So 2 times negative 4 squared plus 10 times negative 4. Then you can either put that all in your calculator all together or do it individually. So this would give us 2 times 16 minus 40. 2 times 16 would give us 32. And 32 minus 40 would give us negative 8. So f of negative 4 equals negative 8. That's how we would write that answer. Questions on that one? Three is just taking these words and putting them into math. So 6 less than, here instead of the inequality, we're actually using the subtracting. But because of the word less than, whatever comes before it really goes at the back. So number is whatever variable you want it to be, minus 6. Then 4 on the back. To solve this equation, we would first distribute. We have negative 8x minus 8 equals negative 8x minus 2. If you remember this from when we were solving equations, I know that was so long ago. Here we have the same coefficient, but different constants. So when you solve this, we're going to get a specific special case. So if you remember that, you could have not continued to solve and just wrote that. If not, you could have solved it. So let's say I got rid of the 8x's and moved 8 over. Everything on this left side would cancel. And then negative 2 plus 8 would give us 6. So what type of solution would this be? No solution. Okay. Questions on that one? And then in that same unit of solving, we were doing literal equations. We also did some of this with graphing, /slope, /writing, /inequality. So we've done this a lot. Solving for y, we have to get our x away from it, get rid of our x. So we can subtract that to the other side. I'm going to put it in the y equals mx plus b format, so switch these. But that's not necessary to switch them. And then to get y by itself, divide everything by negative 3, because I know that this would simplify. So y equals, this would become a positive 2/3 and a negative 3. Questions on that one? Take out your notes from last class. If you need another copy of those, I have extras. The ones that had this on the front page. Anyone need another one?
Maybe not. It is not.
These before lunch, which is fine. But as I mentioned last class, we were just going to go over a few of the application word problems from joint and combined variation. So find in your notes this page. And we're just going to do a couple of these, any you want to see, and then I'm going to show you some practice problems that you can be working on. We are going to skip number 1 because this is just inversely. So that would be a normal, set it up how you would an inverse, solve it like an inverse, so on and so forth. If we want to see that later, we'll come back to it. But let's start with number 2. So as we're reading this, we'll see that this has 2 things. It varies directly and inversely. That's really why I wanted to do this, so you see how to set it up, how to solve it, things like that. Right? So as we're reading this, in building a brick wall, the amount of time it takes to complete the wall varies directly. So whatever comes first is still like your y. It doesn't have variables, so if you want to call it something else, you can. I'm just going to call it y. Varies directly with the number of bricks in the wall, so that would be like your x. So if you want to take that and start writing your equation, you can do that and then add to it later. So directly, we are putting the variables next to each other. It needs a k, so y equals kx. And then varies inversely with the number of brick layers. So let's call that some other variable, z, or something else, doesn't matter. Inversely means we're dividing that variable. So we would divide this by z, and that would be your equation. Then they give us numbers. A wall containing 1,200 bricks, so you have to keep track of which one is which. So number of bricks was x, 3 brick layers was z, 18 hours was amount of time, so that's y. Put those numbers into your equation, and then we can start solving for k. We have 18 equals k times 1,200 all over 3. And then you could either divide 1,200 and 3 and then solve for k, or multiply both sides by 3 and then divide by the 1,200. The order there does not matter. So let's say we divided 1,200 and 3, we get 400, and then we'll have to divide both sides by 400. Divide that 18 and 400. Tell me what you get. Say that one more time. 4, 5, not 4, 2, 5. Right. So we have our k value. Then we can put that into our equation. Y equals 0.045 x all over z. Look at that last part. See what you're given and see what you need to solve for. So the question asks, how long would it take to build a wall of 4,500 bricks if 5 brick layers were counted? Which variable are we solving for? X, Y, or Z? Y. Because we're given X and Z. So leave your Y as Y. Put in your other two numbers. And use that to solve for Y. You can multiply your numerators together, then divide 4,500 and 5, and then multiply. That order does not matter. What would that Y value be? Here. 40.5 and then what? 40.5 what? That would be our label.
And make sure you get our labeling it so that you know exactly what it was asking you to find. Because I would be terrified if there were 40.5 bricklayers.
Yeah.
Half the log is kind of weird.
Do we have any questions on that one? We're going to do a couple more when we get back from lunch. Alright, let's continue. First, did we have any questions on number 2? We're going to go on to number 3. It will be set up very similarly to how we just did 2. So a video store rents DVDs, and the weekly total number varies directly with the total inventory and varies inversely with the cost of each rental tape. So again, you can choose which variables you want to use. Keep using Y, X, and Z. Does not matter. Whatever comes first would be like your Y or whatever other variable you want to use. The second one would be your X or whatever variable you want to use. So we have Y equals KX and varies inversely with the cost of each rental tape. So if we call that Z, we are dividing by that variable. Then, the store in Acme, New York, last week rented a total of 3,000, this was DVDs. When its inventory was 9,600 and the cost per rental was $2.40. Of those 3 numbers, which is which variable? Which one's Y, which one's X, which one's Z?
Z is $2.40. X is 9,600.
That's your Y. Right? So now that we have those 3 numbers, put those 3 into your equation and start solving for K. So Y is 3,000. We don't know K. X is 9,600. And Z is $2.40. So if we were to divide 9,600 and 2.4, we would get 4,000. And then to get K by itself, divide both sides by 4,000. So 3/4 or 0.75 will be your K value. You can use either or. The decimal might be easier to use than the fraction though. Then take that K value, put into your original equation. y equals 0.75x all over z. Then it says if the inventory does not change, so that means whatever it was before is going to be the exact same. So inventory 9,600. What would be the effect on the weekly total number of increasing the cost per rental to $3? So what variable are we looking for here? X, Y, or Z? Are we looking for X?
No.
We're looking for Y, because we're given X and we're given Z. So leave Y, put in the other two, and solve to figure out what Y is. You can put 3 or 3.00, either or, it does not matter. What would your Y value be? $2,400 or $2,400, yep. And then here, since we're looking for a weekly total number of DVDs would be our label. Questions on that one? On the back of this page, we're going to skip over 4 because that's another example like what we just did. So I want you to be able to try at least one of these as well. And we're going to go to 5. So a ball is dropped from a window of a building. The distance it falls varies directly with the square of the time it falls. So distance would be like your y, the square of the time would be like your x. How would we set up this equation? So not looking at the numbers just yet, just the equation with just the variables. But you are correct that that would be the y, yes, when we get there. What would our equation look like? If you're not sure, look back at the examples we did last class. Except we need the square of. So how would we say that? So y equals kx squared. So make sure you're reading the words, because if this were a problem on your quiz, on your test, and you missed the squared part, all of your work would be wrong. So make sure you're reading everything. Right. As Sid said earlier, that 8 feet would be your y, meaning the 0.5 would be your x. So let's put those in, find our k value. Square 0.5 or 1/2, either or, we get k times 0.25. Divide both sides by 0.25. What is your k value? $32. Use that k value, put it back into your original. So y equals 32 x squared. Then it says how far will it fall if it takes 2.5 seconds for it to hit the ground. What are we looking for, x or y? Y. So keep y the same, put your value in for x. And you can either put that into your calculator all at the same time or do 2.5 squared and then multiply it by 32. What would our y value be? $200, and then 200 what? Feet. Questions on that one? On the back of this page and this page, find any questions we want to see, go over, have questions about. If you have questions on 4 or 6, we'll do one of those, not both. If you have questions. Are there any of those we want to see, go over, have questions about? Sit. Say that last part one more time. This. If we don't have questions, the very last 2 pages are practice problems. So for the remainder of class, I'm going to give you a certain set of numbers you can be working on in those pages, or you can be working on Khan Academy, making sure those are good and done before Friday so you don't have to worry about them. So on the first worksheet, so I would circle these or write them down so you have them to refer back to so you can work on them later if you're not doing it now. Numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12. So that's on worksheet 1. It'll say that at the top. It'll look just like this. Should be towards the back. And then on worksheet 2, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. Remember that this objective does not have Khan Academy, nor does it have Delta Math. So the really the only real practice you'll get is from this. So make sure you're using this time to practice, get any questions you have answered, be working, using this time actively, wisely, yes. For the first one? Yeah. Right. So use this time wisely. Let us know if you need our help or have